Hi, and welcome to the show today. I am so excited to introduce my guest to you. Her name is Stephanie Gaffney, and she is an artist in a medium that I have just now discovered. Her work is amazing, and I wanted to share her story of why she chooses this medium of painting and how she came to it. Thank you so much for being here, Stephanie.
Yeah,
I can draw stick figures. I can I do a little graphic design, but what you do is an art form that is just, we can see some of it in the background there. And we'll get the audience acquainted with you first and then explain what they're seeing. So thanks for being here.
of course.
Yes. Okay, so let's jump right in. Let's talk about, just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what your background is in art, how you were trained, where you were trained. I just want everyone to get to know you a little bit.
Okay, so as you said, my name is Stephanie. I'm an artist. I'm originally from Baton Rouge in Louisiana, but now I live in New Orleans, conveniently right near the airport because I travel a lot now. But I've enjoyed drawing and painting my entire life, but I was advised not to get a degree in painting or fine art like that. Everybody that I knew and respected who were older said, you can't get a job as an artist. And at the time, and still currently, it is tough to get a job working for someone else as a fine artist. But we'll talk about creative ways to do that independently. But so anyway, I got a degree in graphic design. You mentioned knowing a little graphic design work. We all kind of have to this day and age. But I'm a trained graphic designer, if you will, and I was painting on the side for fun. I would sell a piece or two in college. My friends would say, "Could you paint this for me?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And I would paint it and they would pay me. And it was kind of like a little.
What things were you painting? Like when they'd say, "Will you paint this for me?" Would they give you a picture to paint, or what was it?
Yes. So I would paint a guy I was dating, his dad was a big deep sea fisher. So I painted these big paintings, kind of in a Guy Harvey style. So very vibrant colored underwater scenes with, that kind of thing. People would send me photos of their pets. Some friends who their parents had moved. I painted a couple of houses, really unique commission work. So from before I even started doing this as a business, I was doing custom work. You requested, I painted for you. And I got a job to transition into how I became a full-time artist. I was a designer for a small advertising agency. And I got within a year, I allowed myself to get very involved with the sales process. I got involved in client relations and the whole concept of you own a business and have a need. I provide a service at my company, does design work, logo work, website work. We can serve you in that way. You pay me, I do the job, bada bing, bada boom, it's done. That was business. And as an art major and not a business major, this was fascinating for me. So
I was just going to ask you that. If looking back, I was just going to ask you that. If looking back, we can, I guess, get a little deeper into that later. But was the graphic design degree as important as maybe a business degree might have been? Or did you learn it on the job anyway, so it all works out?
I learned it on the job anyway. What I will tell anyone concerning college or undergraduate studies, so 4 years, it is a vital part of growing up. It gives you a handheld opportunity to adulthood. You're able to work while you're studying. You're able to practice juggling a lot of responsibilities and being held accountable, reaching goals, accomplishing something that a lot of people don't do. They don't go to college or whatever. So I think in terms of college, it was beneficial, but my graphic design degree, I learned everything I know after I graduated, essentially. You get better familiar with the projects, the programs themselves. Anywho, I definitely learned about what I enjoy about the business model, not so much business, but like people,
Right.
business
And
is about
providing that service, feeling
absolutely.
Well, so
Yeah.
then when you would, so by the time you're in college, and whether it's a trade or anything that you're going to learn and commit yourself to, right? Whether it's a 4-year degree or anything else, when you're coming through that, where did your art, was it just raw talent? How did you learn how to even paint and do the things you were doing for the side gigs you were getting paid for?
It was interest, and it was a naturally God-given talent. Absolutely. I credit that, I'm the hands. Gave it to me, right? And then it was interesting. It was fun. I paint fast, which is a thing that a lot of artists, their practice, creating their work is time consuming. And so, charging for that and, serving people, creating the work is difficult. It's just a different process when you do it when it takes a long time, and I can paint really quickly. So I did take one painting class during my college career, and it was like a still life intro to oil painting. And I picked it up. A lot of the things that were instructed came naturally. It just made sense. So clearly over the years, I've practiced a lot and I've developed my style, and I continue learning from other artists. I'll participate in workshops, and I'm constantly learning and studying from other artists. So I'm not going to sit here and say I know everything, because I do not.
Well, I think it's a lot like anything that we have a talent at it that we're good at. So, I'm a writer, and I can look at a paragraph and just know what's wrong with it or how to make it better. And it comes really naturally to me. I can look at math, something that I should know for running a business that I've run for years now. And it's harder for me to break that part down, where somebody else might take a look at that and then write me a paragraph about it, and the paragraph's all wrong, but the math is right, right? So whatever it is that we just get better and better at, some of it is already there, and then we just develop that. And I think that listening to what's already there is part of the process of adulthood, right? Knowing your skill set and then finding a way to, I think it's important to find a way to be passionate about something, figure out how to get it paid for it, and still love what you're doing. So
combination. In order, like if you're wanting to go out on your own and do something, whether it's a creative thing or a technological thing or whatever, there has to be a combination, a very healthy combination of a natural ability to where it really comes naturally to you. If it doesn't come naturally to you, you're just going to struggle. You probably could do it, but like I would not be an accountant. I could. Do I want to be? No. So that doesn't come easily to me. But that paired with a deep interest in either the subject or serving people. Like if it was, going back to the accounting analogy, if it was a passion for me to help people get out of issues with taxes or whatever, if it was a passion for me to help small business owners, then it would make me better at my job, even though it's not my best talent or whatever. So yes, I agree. It is
that makes sense.
It's a combination. Yeah.
So now I want to take a break now. And then when we come back, I was going to show a clip of what you do right now, but I'm going to wait, because I want to talk a little bit more about what you do and how you do it, and then let people see the process, because it's absolutely fascinating. I love watching you work. So we're taking a break. We're talking with Stephanie Gaffney, and she's an artist who does a really interesting, your little corner of the market is just amazing to me. We'll be back in just a moment. We'll share her skill and how she uses it. I am talking with artist Stephanie Gaffney. Stephanie, we've been sharing just about how you came to become an artist, but I want to share now more specifically with our audience what exactly it is you do. So we're in an elevator and you have 30 seconds to tell me what it is you do. How would you describe it?
If we were in an elevator, I would say I'm a live wedding painter, and you would say, what? And I would say I paint at weddings. So that's what I do. I serve brides and their families, their mothers a lot of the time. And I capture whatever moment they choose, whether it's the first dance or the ceremony or the exit at the end of the ceremony. And I paint that live as it's happening. And
you're actually at the wedding, they fly you in, it's part of the process, and you're there while they're setting up. Okay, let's go ahead and show the video that I was teasing about in the first segment so people can get an idea. This is Stephanie Gaffney at work.
Stephanie here. I'm a live wedding painter out of New Orleans, Louisiana, and this is a little behind the scenes of my process as a wedding painter. I get there early, kind of block in the background, not adding too much detail because the main event is going to be right there in the foreground. I video the bride and groom doing their first dance or whatever scene they want captured, and then I spend a lot of time adding details, making sure the people are recognizable. I do faces, I get down and dirty with the details, making sure your eyelashes and your dimples and everything is just spot on. And depending on what you want in your painting, I can add family members, friends, bridal party, your pets. I love painting dogs in the painting. But anyway, I finished the painting by the end of the night, working on details, making lighting pop, making sure that that painting is a true reminder of the ambiance of your wedding night. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks.
How fascinating is that? I watched that several times the first time you sent it to me, and I'm just amazed by it every time. So explain to people behind the scenes, somebody's reached out to you, they've hired you to come to their wedding, they fly you in, just kind of tell us start to finish how that all comes together, what we just saw.
So I kind of explain it too in the video, but basically you choose, we chat a lot ahead of time and we decide what your vision is for the painting, because not only is this entertainment, not only is this like a wedding day thing, but this is a piece of artwork that you're going to hang in your home forever. So it's going to match, you know, your vision for the painting, who you want to be included in the painting. So if you have a list of family members, your pets, I love putting dogs in there because everybody loses their mind when they see the dogs in the painting. But yes, and then I arrive early. I do set up and begin the background before guests show up. It gives me a little bit more time because this is a timed job. I usually do these paintings within about 5 hours. They're like start to finish, and the average size is 2 feet by 3 feet. So it's a big painting. And also I can see more of the details in the room when the lighting is a little bit brighter and guests aren't filling the room. So I know now to arrive early. I begin, and then whenever you come in, let's say I'm painting your first dance, I get that on video, and then I grab a screenshot of a really good moment where you're looking at each other or you're spinning or something, and then you actually get to choose the reference. So I'll take 1 or 2 screenshots that I think would make a really compelling painting, and then I show them to you. So this is another part where you're involved in the process. You know, you can trust me to a certain extent with my artistic liberties, but you do get to choose what scene you want. And then I paint the rest of the night. If you want me to paint more guests in there, then I would need them to come swing by so I can see what they look like and meet them, and then take a good photo. And then by the end of the night, it's done. And if it's a local wedding, like I said, I'm in New Orleans, Louisiana. So if it's in Louisiana and I bring it back to my studio, I can work on edits. I can add more people. I can frame it for you. It's more involved if I can do that. If I'm traveling out of state, which I do a lot nowadays, then I finish it that night and I leave it with you. So this is something you get to take home and keep forever. So it is a timeless piece of artwork, and it is a very valuable investment for your life, for your family, not only just for your wedding. Yes.
Where do you think that, what is your typical client that reaches out? I mean, so obviously, are they always big, fancy weddings, or some of them are beachside with just 10 people? What is your typical client? Do you have one?
Yeah, my typical client is a bride to be or someone who loves that person. Anyway. You know, I've been booked by the bridal party. I've been booked as a surprise by the groom. It is my typical client is someone who loves the idea of a wedding painting, whether they have heard of me before and just Google, whether they follow me and they really love my style as an artist, or they just love the idea and they Google and I pop up and I'm available. So I paint at every kind of wedding you can imagine, budget wise. Obviously the ones with higher budgets just are more elaborate design wise. As an artist, seeing all the floral design really just lights up my day. But lower budget weddings, those are so special to me because they've chosen to invest in this this form of entertainment for their guests. They may not have They may have lowered their budget or cut a vendor, you know,
You know,
in lieu of me. And those mean so much to me. So I always do my best job, no matter, you know, what job I'm at. But no, I don't have a preference. And, you know, I have examples of weddings that, you know, if they did cut their floral budget, for example, I'll spruce up with flowers. I'll, you know, take artistic liberty
yes.
and make this painting, you know, I'll make the lighting really intense and I'll make it stunning. You know, there is no, it doesn't matter to me. So that's kind of cool.
Well, and that's when I watched some of the background footage we're showing throughout the show, when it's kind of a spectacle, right? It's a form of entertainment for the wedding.
Mhm.
So many people, they seem to respect your space, obviously, and they just stand back in awe and watch you work. And obviously you're used to that.
Yes. Yeah. So it's entertainment. It's when I'm talking to somebody, and if you were to ask me why should I, you know, I may be able to hook you with interest in having entertainment for your guests, or, you know, regardless of the entertainment factor, you may be more interested in the work of art itself. But as I've been doing this for 6 years, I started doing weddings in 2015, and I'll tell you how I got started doing this crazy kind of gig. But I nowadays I still meet hundreds and hundreds of people who have never seen this before, and that is so fun for me because they've never, so they're truly entertained. People that have seen this before are still entertained, but they like, oh, I've seen this before, I've heard of this before, this is so cool. So I just like talking to everybody. Very few times have I had a critic who came up and gave me negative feedback of
Right. I can't imagine. I can't imagine
yeah,
that.
but that's okay, everybody's entitled to an opinion. So
Well, let's take a quick break, and then let's go ahead and talk about how you settled into this part of and what it takes for you, because you're a mom of young kids and you're married. And for some people, they might think I could never hop on a plane and do what you're doing, but you make it work, and you try to not be gone any longer than you have to be. So let's take a break. We're talking with Stephanie Gaffney. She's a live wedding painter artist. We'll be back in just a moment. We're back talking with Stephanie Gaffney. She is a live painter at weddings, so live wedding painter. You were going to tell us about how you got into this back in 2015. How did you get started?
yes, so at the time I was doing commission work and I was hustling because I was broke. And a friend of mine, and commission, I mean, people would say, can you paint this dog? And I would. Can you paint this person? And I would. A friend of mine got engaged and said, can you paint at my wedding? And I said, no, ma'am. No, thank you. That sounds terrifying. And I looked it up on Google, and there were like 3 people in the country that were doing this. And I looked at their work and I thought to myself, I could do at least that, you know, this good, or, you know, I came up with what I thought I could do. And then worst case scenario, because it was a friend of mine, I said I could just finish it in my studio. And so I accepted the job. And then the marketer pro that I got on Facebook and said, I'm a live wedding painter now, hire me for your wedding, not having done any, you know. So that's when you're scrappy in the beginning of your business.
I think it's fantastic sometimes you just have to put it out there, and then you're accountable to it, whatever it is.
And then the first year I did 15 weddings. So I actually booked and did 3 weddings before I did hers, which is
wow, just from that, just from saying yes.
That. People trusting me based on my word and my portfolio at the time of pet portraits.
So and, didn't even end up being your first wedding.
It didn't. No, my very first wedding that I ever painted at was my ex-boyfriend's. Which is a hilarious coincidence. I mean, we're on good terms and he's wonderful and his wife and family are great. But anyway, that's just a funny story. So the trust was there. They knew I could go do a good job. So, you know, that was the first job. And my first year I did 15 weddings. The next year I did 50. So it grew and grew and grew from there. And recently, you know, I've been working hard to gain more followers so that more people knew about it. And recently I had a video go viral on TikTok, and you know, 5 million views in 24 hours. And thanks to that exposure, I've gotten many more inquiries for weddings out of the state of Louisiana, weddings out of the country. So I'm flying a lot more. I have personal note, I am a mother of 2 children. I have a 2-year-old daughter and a 9-month-old daughter, and we plan on growing our family. So, I have my personal life, but I travel on the weekends. And my husband, from the day we met, we were very supportive of each other. He has his own career, and I'm supportive of that. And he's very supportive of me traveling and doing what I need to do and what I enjoy doing. So with his help, I can travel on the weekend, but I spend as little time away from home as possible. So when I travel, I don't travel for a week. I fly up the morning of the wedding and I go to the hotel, I get ready, and then I go do the job, which lasts until midnight. And then I get up and I fly out at 5 o'clock in the morning the next day. So it really is an exhausting job. It's a very fun, the painting part of it is very fun. I enjoy that very much, but the traveling is exhausting. But if I can serve brides, if I can paint for people and bring joy to all these people around the country, and then whenever all of the travel restrictions lift and it's easier to travel out of the country, I'm going to do that too.
Well, so I was going to ask you too, from the business side of things. So your time is valuable. You're leaving your family. They're flying, the wedding, the bride and groom are flying you out there. They're paying your expenses. You get to see some of these places that you probably don't get to see much of anything because you're working the whole time and then getting back.
Yes.
Was it hard for you? And I think this is an important fact for people watching who have a talent in their business. Was it hard for you to price yourself? Because it's not just the time you're spending traveling, it's the expertise, it's the trust, it's all of those things. Have you always been good at putting a value on that talent?
No, I learned a lot. One of the things I learned when working at that advertising agency, where I did a completely different job of graphic design, I learned how to price things in a market. So I learned that if I learned to look at what my competitors were charging and consider things like inexperience, especially when I was getting started, and now 6 years later, experience and what that value means. Other factors, at the beginning, I priced lower because I wanted the jobs. Now, 6 years later, and with 2 small children, that means I was pregnant and 8 months pregnant, twice painting at weddings, and then 2 weeks postpartum painting at weddings. So I know, the value of my time and my family's time. So now I've priced higher than most of my competitors, because if I'm going to lose, I do an average of 60 weddings a year. So if I'm going to lose all of those weekends, Fridays and Saturdays without my family traveling out of state, then they got to pay for it. And so now I'm much more comfortable with the value of my work. But it has slowly increased over the years. In the beginning, I charged way less because I understood the value of the work and what I could do. So if I'm giving advice to somebody who's struggling with pricing their work, understand what your market, understand what your competitors charge, people in your industry, understand the emotional value. For me, it's a wedding. People spend a lot more money on wedding things than they would our day-to-day life. So I charge more for my live wedding paintings than I do my commissioned paintings, which the same size, the same number of people, I spend twice as much time on. It's just the value is just different. So there, I hope that answered your question.
It does. I just love your work. I would love to come and watch you do it somewhere. If you're ever on the West Coast, let me know, because I would love to come and see and make that a story as well. I don't know how that would work. I might be intruding on somebody's wedding, but I'd love to just be a fly on the wall at some point, perhaps.
Yeah,
there you go. I can, if maybe somebody I know will hire you, and then that'll get me in as well. Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here, Stephanie. I just appreciate your time and have such respect for your talent.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for having me. It was so exciting speaking with you today and your audience.
Thank you. Take good care.